Hey, Steve, you have to do that. Thank you. Oh my gosh, that smells amazing. Oh, it's gorgeous. I don't know if it's too late in the day for a cup of coffee. I don't think so. Like ever. No. Dude, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you mind if I start?
Please.
Well, we're here at John's house today. We're here. I'm with my buddy John Williams. You might recognize some of his work if you've taken any time to look at the rotating chaos that is my workbench at any given moment. And your tools are scattered all over my bench. And we've worked together for a number of years. And I'm remembering a particular moment of gratitude where you saved me from myself by making us a heavier chasing hammer while I was working on an elephant head. Like halfway through the project, you just surprised me with this thing. That seems like forever ago. We're, how long, what was that, 2017? How long have we been working together?
I think it was a year or two prior to that. I designed that hammer for you, the first chasing hammer.
Yeah.
And I was pretty excited because I admired your work, and then I got a DM from you about, hey, can you make me this hammer? And then we designed the hammer for your first chasing hammer. And then fast forward, you were in the middle of the elephant. And I was kind of there for the journey, and it was ridiculous. And I was watching some of the things you were doing, and I was like, Doug, please don't.
Dude, I was hanging on for my dear life. Dude, a bunch of people saved me in that project. And,
oh yeah.
You know, it'd be a shame not to mention Tony Swanton, who gave me like a 12-inch sinking die to borrow for a number of months, like no questions asked. Like, gosh, it's just like, it just really is a reminder that like nothing exists in a vacuum, and that like it really does take a community to make anything happen.
Yeah.
Like that's huge, which I think is you know, kind of a nice segue to see what we got, what's in the works now. We're working on a chisel set.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, which I'm very excited about. You know, I think that something as simple as chisels can kind of go unlooked, but there's actually a lot into those things with subtlety and nuance and finish, and of course, you know, what you're bringing with the business end on those and how they relate to this type of work.
Well, yeah, they really are unsung heroes. Like, it's not just a you know, a cookie cutter shape on a stick. I mean, not that I'm not guilty of like forging out some rebar to fit where I need it to fit at a time, but you know, when you're desperate, but when you have time to actually think something out, it's those windows of opportunity that I think to myself, I'm like, you know, this would be a great opportunity. This would be a great excuse for me to spend a bunch of time with my friends, and so, you know, this was kind of my chance. I was like, I'm gonna call John. We're gonna freaking make this happen. And I had an idea of like what I might need for projects and whatnot, but I kind of, I knew I wanted something that I was gonna find really difficult to resist to keep using, and that's turned out to be the case.
You want to have a tool you reach for sure. And you know, it's the same. People use the analogy with hammers. You know, it's a rock on a stick.
Yeah, it's a lever. Yeah.
You know, and chasing tools or chisels can just be a bar with something ground on the end. But then, if you start to look into the nuance of why you might want to reach for something, and what about it actually appeals to you in terms of balance and tactile feel and those kinds of things, and how they actually perform in subtle ways, you know, I think it's something that you come to appreciate over time. You know, that there is a difference.
And well, last time we had quite a bit of time to appreciate it. I mean, we were probably at peak California fall summer-ish area. This is like mid-September, and we were just in an absolute marathon for the last test batch when I first approached you on this, and we fleshed out 7 sets in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was quite a marathon build, and without the accommodations, you know, you have to come and brush the leaves off of.
Dude, this wasn't even here when we were working. Like the community effort that came together to put this up has just blown me away.
Yeah.
And during winter too, when like the least convenient time of year to try and put up a building.
You know, the upside about that though is, you know, it was cool. I liked the shots that you captured of the tunnel spiders and the unfinished hammerheads, and you know, we had monarchs in chrysalids just about to emerge. You know, so there was some charm there, but it wasn't necessarily the ideal workspace. But there, you know, it was fun.
Well, I think that's a gorgeous window into when you work outside and when you work so closely to nature and it just seeps in. Like there's no keeping it out.
No.
So you have to be the grass that bends in the breeze. Like if you decide to fight back, you'll break. And you've had a number of years of bending, but now we get to slow down a little.
It's a breaking too.
And you know, take a break from the direct sun and rain and everything else.
Oh yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good view right out the shop though. At the
Yeah.
same time.
And we'll still have those monarchs swinging through.
Yeah.
But what we're busy with now is this chisel set here. I got it here. Now I've been putting these through I've been maybe abusing them a little bit, so I did grind down the ends and clean them up a little so they were presentable today. But these are so nice that like I reach for these now on a daily basis. I mean, not just to keep making sure they're exactly what I was expecting when I was hoping to build some educational material around them, but they do actually replace a lot of the workhorses that like I've had to make in a pinch or have found through a series of organic chain of events. And they only had a few gaps, and it was just like the same exact tools, just in like an additional size here or there. So like I'm ecstatic. Like this is gonna do me. This is gonna fill in like literally every blank I need for at least the next like year or two of curriculum.
Yeah, and I've seen you just did some of the leaf work that I was really attracted to right at the beginning.
Yeah.
That was the leaf that we worked on initially, the one that I chose.
Oh, dude, you crashed my shop. We did do some of that.
Yeah.
The Acanthus Leaf.
I have mine in there somewhere.
Yeah. I've still got a drawer with your project in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I kept it.
Is that where it is? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then you have been applying these tools from everything from that size up to what?
Well,
What's the scale?
I think the thing I get to apply now to the resume is probably crocodile dental care.
Okay.
Yeah. It's for, you know, I'd feel too bad maybe throwing some of these at the scale of abuse that I can kind of put some tools through.
These particular scales?
Yeah, these particular scales, yeah. But they would survive it no problem. I'm just like, I'm still in the honeymoon phase, I suppose. So, but it's a privilege to work with you, and I know we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but we've already done so much that, now's the point that we're kind of going public with this, and we get to get a happy little pre-order together. We've pretty much cleared our schedule for the next month or so, and we're just gonna crank out as much as we can. So
yeah, the feeling is mutual. Being a tool maker, it's so nice. I have some limited chasing experience, and in the hundreds of hours, so it's not too much. But tools like this, I think. I like being able to bring some of the experience in tool making to these sorts of things, but having somebody who has so many hours at the bench with tool making to address these business ends, I think, is a super valuable experience for me personally, because I get to see some of the nuance in how these are dressed, and then I get to feel how they work in use too.
Well, when you start with, no potter can work without clay, and when you start with the best clay in the world, like, you learn more about it too. There were a few of these that it hadn't occurred to me what the final result on some of those business ends, especially the Godwin Noirs that I ended up ovaling out. I didn't come to those conclusions until we were there, like, in the trenches doing that work. And it's just been a privilege to learn some of those lessons, because knowing isn't doing. I mean, you could read all the books in the world, but until you're actually putting it into practice, some of those revelations can't be shared just because they're floating around somewhere in your brain. It's not that you know it isn't there, it's just not associated to anything. So it's not that we're not reinventing the wheel here, but we are paving, like we're making the roadmap that the wheels are going to go on.
Well, that's one of the nice things that I've always enjoyed about tool making, and then using those tools in my particular practice, is that you get feedback, and then you're getting that feedback in real time, and the next time that you go and you make a tool of that type, it's very present in your mind what you might want to do to change that, to improve upon it, and then it just becomes an upward spiral where you just keep on making these micro adjustments and improvements, and then after a while they get better and better. And I've applied that as a farrier, with my horseshoeing tools, and as a blacksmith with my blacksmithing tools. And these are kind of like little farrier punches, really. So they have the same tactile feel and some of the same geometry there. So it's fun seeing how those things, they have the parallels and they transfer over.
Dude, it reminds me a lot of like martial arts, where when you really start looking at fundamentals, just how many disciplines have so much bleed over. I mean, like I put the same sculptor tools in someone who works with marble or clay or a painter, and they're all seeing different things out of these. And so to see through your eyes while working together with you, seeing through some of your experience, I mean, as a sculptor, like my life is, it's like sugar to my brain, like texture to my hands it just lights me up. And there's such a gorgeous gradient in these tools, from everything from like the blistering that speaks to like, the 10 different heat cycles that each tool would go through, the color gradient, the texture gradient from that blistering to that file finish to a mirror finish. It's a treat. It's a treat.
I'm happy to hear that. I was very interested in hearing your feedback, and what I like out of a tool is I like when you have a forge tool and you're actually paying attention to some of the geometry, not just the business and the struct end, but what happens in between there. And suddenly you find that they have a balance and they index a certain way, and they have a tactile sort of feedback where you can kind of reference where they are in your hand, and it becomes a different experience, having a forged shape that doesn't just slip through your fingers, or that little bit of texture, the way that it grabs, I like using tools where it becomes a pleasure to use them, and I think that's why I became a tool maker, is because it's a real pain when you have to fight your tools, and you're pulling your hair out, and then, I think a really good tool is one that you just hardly even notice in your hand. It becomes an extension of your hand, and it's so easy to reference just through all of the feedback that you don't even realize it's there, and you can focus on your job.
That's a great point on fighting too many fronts at once, and when you're fighting yourself, it's real hard to make work. And I think a lot of people can attest to that. So, speaking of hard work, thank you for letting me drag you in on this and make a bunch of
My pleasure.
new problems for you.
Oh, yeah.
And, thanks for being a part of this.
Oh, my pleasure, and I can't think of a better way to kind of, christen the shop here. It's almost done, so I'm looking forward to getting this batch of tools made. It's going to be the first proper job out of this shop, so it's exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm excited. Well, and if you're looking at like, okay, so where are these tools? How do I see them? Where are they at? You're going to see them online. All the links are in the description, so check them out. And thanks for taking the time to share some time with us. So,
Thanks.
Dude,
Cheers.
I'm gonna finish this coffee before we clean up.
Oh yeah, that was a good call.